guys, I'm Rich from NeoWin. Today we're unboxing the Lenovo Legion Y740, the 15-inch model. So I've actually been testing the 17-inch model, and it's pretty nuts. It's huge, and I want to get my hands on this. So the big thing here is that it has Nvidia GeForce RTX graphics. This has a 2070. The 17-inch model I'm currently testing has a 2080. So the big deal with RTX graphics is that it supports ray tracing. And the big deal with that is that it's tracing rays of light. So you get better shadows and you generally get better graphics. And then there's something called DLSS, which is deep learning super sampling. Still have trouble saying it. But it uses AI, machine learning, all those buzzwords to pretty much create better graphics. So I have used an RTX 2080 in a desktop PC, and my normal desktop PC uses a GTX 1080. So it used to be high-end, not so much anymore. I feel kind of barbaric using a 1080 in my main PC. So I played Battlefield 5, which is one of very few games that supports ray tracing right now, and DLSS. And I played it on the 1080 and I played it on the 2080, and you can visibly see the difference with the new RTX graphics. It's literally game-changing. And I put that in my title of the review. That was the HP Omen Obelisk. So now at CES, Nvidia came out with the new mobile GPUs. And that's what I'm testing out now in these new Lenovo Legion laptops. So these they call it the Y740, which is kind of weird, because I reviewed the Y730, which was last year's model. It only came out in like August. And when they came out with this thing, they said it's going to use NVIDIA's next generation graphics. In fact, they called them GTX 1180 at the time, because at the time, that's what we all thought they were going to be called, including OEMs. But they said they were going to refresh these things with the new GPUs. And I guess instead, they just decided to call it the Y740 instead. So here we have it. So let's get this thing open. Okay, I don't even know where this thing opens. So this thing also has a Core i7-8750H. You know, the specs that you'd expect from a gaming laptop. 16 gigs of RAM, 15.6-inch 1080p display, and it's 144 hertz, which is pretty cool. G-Sync compatible. Okay, now these boxes are obviously massive because they're massive PCs, and I opened it up upside down. But that's going to be fine. So here's the PC. Some paperwork's falling on me. All right, we're just going to put this to the side for now. Oh, it's so much more manageable than the 17-inch model. The 17-inch model is just so big, and these things are really hard to carry around. That's why I like a good 15.6-inch laptop. All right. I also like how the top part here has the Lenovo Legion laptop logo in it, cut out of it, so that's kind of a nice touch. And there's a little Lenovo envelope for me. There's going to be a return label in there because I don't get to keep these things, sadly, as much as I would love to. Over here we're going to find our power adapter. 230 watts, which is pretty beefy. But that's not surprising. I gotta say, some of the gaming laptops I've used, I believe this is using a power cable also. It's using more power than other gaming laptops I've used, because 230 watts is a massive power brick. The 17-inch model with the RTX 2080 also came with a 230 watt power adapter. Also, by the way, it uses Lenovo's proprietary charger, which, again, not surprising. I think this is well beyond a USB-C spec, but the thing about this is that it's just so similar to a USB Type-A port. It kills me. It just kills me that you know, when you use this thing, you will accidentally plug try to plug a USB Type-A cable into the power port, and maybe both. You'll try to plug the power cable into a USB port. It's just that's the fact of life when using the Lenovo chargers. So yeah, I wish we could have USB Type-C for everything, but we're not there yet, so that's okay. Now this is the Lenovo Legion Y740. It's actually pretty light. It's 4.8 pounds. Depending on who you are, that might not sound light at all, but for a gaming laptop with RTX graphics, it's pretty light. So if you watch, there were a lot of gaming PCs that came out at CES because that's when Nvidia announced its mobile GPUs, and you'll notice that a lot of PCs that would have seemed like they would have been entry level before, entry level GPUs, not necessarily entry level, just thinner gaming PCs that are meant to be thinner and lighter would have shipped with maybe a GTX 1060 before. Now they're shipping with RTX 2070 and 2080, so we're getting top end stuff from thinner and lighter PCs. One of the things that Lenovo went for when they went with this design, which aesthetically it's very similar to the Y730. I want to say it's exactly the same, but it might be slightly different. So the Y720, it was kind of an ugly machine. It was big, bulky, and it wasn't a great look. So they came out the Y730 and the Y740 now, because it's pretty much the same. And it's meant to be more of an industrial design. This is meant to be a machine that you can put in your bag. You can take it out at work, and it looks professional, mostly. Well, the way Lenovo put it to me was that not everybody wants a big green snake on the back of their laptop. And obviously that's referring to Razer. They don't want big red highlights along the side. They don't want it to be flashy like a lot of gaming PCs are. No, what they want is, what some people want is a machine that looks professional, and you can also play games on it, which those kinds of machines are really few and far between, and that's always bugged me, and that's always been a reason that I've been a big fan of Dell's XPS 15, because it's got the high power, the CPU, it's got dedicated graphics, not necessarily gaming powered graphics, but it's got that power, and it's still in that portable professional form factor. So here we have it. It's 180 degree hinge, which, Lenovo likes to do that, and I don't know how much you'll be using that. It's got an RGB keyboard that you're gonna have in here. We could boot this up. Okay, very light for a machine that has a 230 watt power brick. I'd expect something a little heavier. So I'm really impressed with how they've done this. Another thing they did is that they put fans in the corners so that you can push air out on all sides. That's another reason they can make it thinner and lighter, because they have that new thermal system. Remember, there's a lot of high-powered parts in here. There's a Core i7 8750H, which is a hexa-core 45-watt processor. And anytime you have an H-series processor, it's sucking down power. And obviously, we want that with a machine like this. We want high-power tasks. Okay, so here you have it. Trackpad, not clickable. Not surprising, really, for a gaming laptop. Physical buttons underneath the trackpad. We have an RGB keyboard right here. And unfortunately, one thing I don't like about that is that you have to use iQ software because it's a Corsair keyboard. It's Corsair lighting, really. And one thing that Lenovo did a while ago was they used to have, I think it was called Lenovo Nerve Center, which was how you controlled lighting in the Legion PCs. And then they kind of combined everything. They used to have different apps for everything. So there's one to control lighting, one to update drivers. Eventually they consolidated it all into Lenovo Vantage. And this is an app that's on every Lenovo PC that comes out. You use it to update your drivers, control system settings, stuff like that. And they've gotten rid of it. Or, well, they didn't get rid of it, but they just added that iQ app to control the lighting. So one thing you can see, though, is that now I've just opened it, and now it's cycling through colors in the keyboard, which is kind of cool. We can also see, if we go over here, there's RGB lighting in the Legion logo, and that's now cycling as well. Lighting over in the vents on the sides. So yeah, there's lots of RGB lighting around here. And if you don't like it, you can just set it to white. Lenovo did also come out with the Y540, and the Legion Y540 is one of the biggest differences between the 700 series and the 500 series is that you don't get that RGB lighting with the 500 series. Okay, did this ever load? Yes, it did. So we can see that in the Vantage app we have a few more controls. We have Wi-Fi security optimizer, stuff like that, Lenovo stuff. Some status situations with the GPU and the CPU, RAM. As far as storage goes, it should be terabyte of storage on the hard drive, and then a 256 gigabyte SSD. Which, yeah, that is the case. And yeah, so we can also see, unfortunately, that it comes with McAfee installed, which is, I really feel like it's almost malware at this point, and I feel like it's irresponsible that so many companies ship it with products. So yeah, that'll be the first thing that I uninstall. Another pre-installed app that you're gonna find is Nvidia GeForce Experience, and really, like, I don't care for this stuff because it's fragmenting the device settings experience. Like I said, it should all be within Lenovo Vantage, but you're gonna get your driver updates through Lenovo Vantage. You're gonna get your Nvidia driver updates through GeForce Experience. You're controlling lighting through the Corsair app, and then you get Windows updates through the Windows 10 settings app. It's really it's just not cool. It's a little too much, a little too fragmented, if you ask me. Also, standard gaming stuff, but the display does not support touch. That's not surprising, and touch isn't really something you want in a gaming PC, and the reason for that is because you don't want false touches on your screen while you're playing games. That could be a disaster, and you're better off just not having touch, to be honest. Also, no Windows Hello. I've never understood why that's never included gaming PCs, but it's not. So there's no IR camera, no facial recognition. There's no fingerprint reader. You're just gonna have to use a PIN or a password to log in, which I guess isn't the biggest deal. Interestingly, they moved the webcam to below the screen, where there's a rather large chin under the screen, and they've done that in the interest of smaller bezels. We can see that we have a pretty narrow bezel along the top, and so there's no camera over there. And what these companies do, they prioritize immersion, and the idea is that it's more important for it to be immersive than to use your camera. Dell used to do it with its XPS 13 or all its XPS laptops, and I asked them about that once, and they just kind of asked me, how often do you use your webcam? And my answer was, well, never. And so they said to me, all right then. So the idea is that average consumers don't need a webcam or a proper placement, and it's going to be awkward with the camera looking up at you if you do use your webcam for streaming or something. So we can also see we have a Thunderbolt 3 port on the side here, along with a 3.5 millimeter combo audio. Over here we have a USB Type A port, and then on the back we have two more Type A ports, Ethernet, USB 2.0, and a mini DisplayPort 1.4A. So also the USB Type A ports, two of them are USB 3.1, and one of them is USB 3.1 Gen 2, which I believe they're now, well, I'm not going to get into the 3.2 specs, but so we can see that it's actually this one. See how it says 10 on there? That's USB 3.1 Gen 2 because it supports 10 gigabits per second data transfer speeds instead of 5. You might have thought that since there are two 3.1 Gen 1 ports and one 3.1 Gen 2 ports that it would have been the one off to the side that's Gen 2, but it is not. This one is still 5 gigabits per second, 3.1 Gen 1, and then we have our Gen 2 port. Now, as far as pricing goes, this model should be $1,919.99 from Lenovo.com. Interesting, I think this is the first PC that anyone sent me that I didn't have to go into the customize section of their website to customize a model with the specs they sent me. So this is, Core i7 8750H, hexa-core, 45 watt processor, RTX 2070. Still takes a little bit of habit to not say GTX. 256 gigabyte SSD, 1 terabyte hard drive, 7200 RPM, 16 gigs of RAM. Yeah. So yeah, almost over $2,000 with taxes and such. So yeah, there you have it. It's a sleek machine. It's pretty light, easy to carry around, and that's my base issue with the 17-inch model. When they offered me the 17-inch model, it was all they offered me, and I wanted it so bad to test out the mobile RTX 2080. because I do have some issues with 17-inch laptops. And if that's what you're into, that's great. They don't fit into a lot of bags. They might be problematic at times, but if that's what you want, if that's what you're going to use, if it's portable enough for you, honestly, if you're not taking this machine on the go, at least from time to time, then you're better off with a gaming desktop. And there's some great ones out there, and they're probably going to be a little cheaper as well. As far as games go, like I said, Battlefield 5, Shadow of the Tomb Raider should support it, and I've heard mixed reports of whether it actually does or whether it's coming in a software update. Metro Exodus, there are a few games you can easily Google which games support the new features, and then of course other games are just going to look great, and the performance is going to fly, because the performance difference is just, it's noticeable. And I thought I was doing great with a GTX 1080, but you will, if you use a GTX 1080 and you get an RTX 2080 or even a 2070, you will see the difference. You'll feel it. So this is a great machine. I think it's going to be worth upgrading, and that's one of the cool things about Nvidia's new graphics cards, is that in PCs there aren't a lot of things that come out that's worth upgrading from the last generation. And these RTX graphic cards are worth upgrading from the GTX 10 series. And that's a rare thing. You know, Intel made a lot of progress on the new 8th gen processors. They have more cores is what they really are. This is a hexa-core processor. The last gen H series was quad-core, also 45 watts. And is it worth spending thousands of dollars to upgrade from the 7th gen? No, of course not. But it's worth it for the graphics upgrade. It's another thing that's worthwhile noting is that there are machines still on the market with GTX graphics. Also from the workstation side, especially since Quadro RTX graphics haven't even been announced yet for mobile. So that's something to keep an eye on, because if you play games, this is something that's totally worth the extra money. And so yeah, I'm going to have a review on it in a few weeks. I'm going to focus on playing games and the RTX graphics. And that's why I've been talking about it so much, is because really, if you read my Y730 review, you have most of it already. The only difference that I can tell is the graphics. Even the CPU is the same as the Core i7 8750H. So that's it. Come back in a month. I'm going to have a review. I'm Rich from NeoWin. Have a great night.